Hi everyone. So I guess first off, I have someone new to introduce you to. World or YouTube, please meet Theodore Ira. He's a little preoccupied right now, otherwise he'd say hello a little bit better. But I just want to share a few things in this video. I've had a lot of people commenting and sending me messages asking me particularly about medications and pregnancy. So I want to share a bit more about, what that was like for me, navigating, balancing, taking medications for my mental illness with pregnancy. I also want to talk a bit about, the labor and delivery experience and what we kind of had to think about going into it in terms of accounting for my mental health and my mental illness, and, what that experience was like, as well as what the first, I guess it's been 5 days or so, have been since the arrival of this little bundle. All right, so medications through pregnancy was a bit tricky. I shared before that I initially, when I found out that I was pregnant, kind of wanted to get off as much medication as possible. And so I met with my psychiatrist right away as soon as I found out that I was pregnant to go over the medications that I was on with him. And he was really great. He was very supportive and just kind of said, Lauren, I think it's important that you stay on your medication or on, a decent enough dose of your medication, just in terms of, you being stable and promoting your well-being in terms of promoting your baby's well-being as well. But he said, ultimately, I'll follow your lead. And so if you want to reduce medications, we can try that. I just want to follow you regularly. And so we did that. We went off of some medications that were a little bit more potentially harmful to the baby. And I stayed on 2 main medications, but reduced the dosage. And that didn't really go too well, unfortunately. I started getting quite a few psychotic symptoms and my mood plummeted as well. So very quickly, I think myself and my partner Rob realized, this isn't going to work. So I went back to my psychiatrist and kind of explained what was happening. And I ended up going back higher on one of the main medications, a higher dose than I had started out on, just to kind of make sure that things were stable and to make sure that I was staying well throughout the pregnancy. So I get a lot of people asking, how did you balance that? Or did you go off meds completely? And the answer is, for me, no, it was not a safe option to go off the medications because, my mental health just couldn't take not being on medication. And so in order to provide the safest environment for the baby and for myself, I had to work on keeping myself safe by staying on medication. But we still got rid of the meds that we didn't really need and reduced it to, the minimum that I needed to take. Now, one thing that did happen about, somewhere around 8.5 months into my pregnancy, this is when you start to have a lot more amniotic fluid. And so my medications actually started to be diluted quite a bit. And, I didn't know that this was what was happening. So I just all of a sudden started feeling really awful again. And my symptoms started coming back. So I went to my doctor and he told me what was happening, that my body was essentially diluting the meds. So I had to go up in dosage again at that point on one of them. And so that was hard to wrap my head around, keep going up on medication when I'm trying to, not expose my baby to as much medication as possible. But it was really necessary again. And, my body was diluting it. So he wasn't getting as much as he would have been if I was on that dose before. So that's what happened near the end of my pregnancy. So might be something to keep an eye out for if you are on or psychiatric medications and pregnant. So in terms of the actual delivery and, going into labor and whatnot, I was quite concerned about psychosis being triggered during labor because it's a very stressful, intense experience. And, I didn't really understand how intense and stressful until I actually went through it. But it was something that was on my mind going into it. And so, I made sure I spoke extensively with my OB about my concerns around the mental health component of, the stress of labor. And so it had come up that a C-section was an option if things got bad, if things got to a point where I was, psychotic and it became, dangerous to continue with a vaginal birth, then the C-section was an option. Emergency C-section was an option. This is something that I was, made me a little sad because I did not want to be in a compromised state for the birth of my baby. But it was a good idea to talk about going into it so that everyone was prepared and knew kind of signs to look out for and whatnot. In terms of what my actual experience was like, going through labor and delivery, hi, I was coping well. My contractions were pretty intense. They were, every 2 minutes, basically from the get-go. And I coped okay for a while, but when they started to get really painful and really intense, I did start to hallucinate a little bit, but it was okay because I was able to kind of identify that there were hallucinations and to kind of manage it. And I told Rob that, I was starting to have hallucinations, but that it was manageable and we got through it. Yeah, apart from that, it was pretty smooth sailing, as far as delivery can be. I was worried about right after, postpartum depression for one, or postpartum psychosis. But neither of those really happened. We really prioritized me resting and recovering. Rob has been an absolute saint and has done so much to take care of this little one, Teddy. And that has done wonders for letting my body and my mind recover from the intensity and the experience of labor. So in terms of what the last 5 days or so, or I guess 4 days since coming home have been like, we've spent a lot of time here in bed. If any of you are parents out there, I'm sure you can understand the level of exhaustion that we're feeling. It's been hard because that's just a part of, new parenthood. That's just a part of, having a newborn at home is just completely giving up your schedule to, whatever they need, whenever they need it. And it can be really exhausting. I am pooped. This lack of sleep was something that I was very concerned about because sleep is very, very important to me in terms of maintaining mental wellness. Just like it is for a lot of people, but particularly people who struggle with mental illnesses like schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia. Sleep is a very, very crucial component of staying well. And, especially during this period of recovery from delivery, I was worried about, excuse him, sorry. I was worried about, what that lack of sleep component would mean. But I have been managing okay. I'm just, like I said, like Rob has been incredible in terms of taking on, probably more than his share of taking care of Teddy and taking care of the house and whatnot. So I'm very grateful for that. But, just finding balance overall so that we're all able to be okay and get through this. We do have 2 other kids who we have half the time, so we haven't had them back home yet. That comes this weekend. So that will be another challenge to work through and figure out how to balance everything and how to, how to have everyone get by staying well. So stay tuned for that. But, it's just been a lot of just flexibility and just trying to soak him up as much as possible. I still can't believe that this little one was inside of me for a while. And just, I'm so in love. We are so in love. The kids are so in love. And it's just been really wonderful. Exhausting, but really, really wonderful. All right, so that kind of wraps up my experience with navigating medication with pregnancy and, things that we considered with labor and delivery and what the last few days have been like. Something that I do really want to mention, though, is that, I have definitely experienced the intense fluctuations, the hormonal fluctuations in my body in the last few days. And, I've had periods where I've just kind of wanted to withdraw and recede. I'm really, really lucky that I haven't had, much depressive symptoms come about. But if that is something that you're experiencing, I just want to let you know that that is completely normal. If you have just given birth, or if you give birth in the future and have difficulties with your mood and with, if you're struggling with depression postpartum, that is completely normal. And I would really encourage you to reach out. That is something that I'm very grateful for, that I, went into this experience with a really strong medical support team. My psychiatrist has been following me really closely. My therapist has been following me closely. And, I was already on medication for my psychosis and for depression and whatnot. So, I had everything kind of in place going into this. But if you don't reach out for help, it's treatable. There are people who can help you get through it, and it is totally normal. So I feel very lucky that it hasn't been too extreme for me, but if it is for you, you are not alone, and it will be okay. So thank you so much for following along on this journey with us. Can you say thank you, Teddy? Thank you. We'll be posting more about our journey with, parenthood and whatnot, but also some of our regular content too. We are going to take some time to just soak this wee one in. So if our posting is a little bit slower than normal, we apologize, but hopefully you'll stick with us, and we can't wait to see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.